start, so let's
Yeah, so let's get started. Thank you so much, Ritu, for joining us. I remember exactly about a month back, we were having this conversation with you where you were, mentioning how, Genpact has been able to maintain continuity in apprenticeships amid the COVID and how digitalization kind of really help you transition seamlessly and continue the apprenticeship from home. I think that's
yeah,
the two term altogether. It's like not work from home, but apprenticeship from home, which was possible.
yeah.
Guys kind of did that. I think today we will take a step back and try to understand the whole genesis behind Genpact doing apprenticeships. So what led you to take up apprenticeships for your organization? What prompted Genpact to do apprenticeships?
Yeah, sure. So this started in 2018 as a growing organization. And with our kind of legacy that we have, Sumit, we are a pioneer in many, many areas. That's inbuilt in our culture of curiosity and, taking risks and kind of going out of your comfort zone to assess new possibilities and new horizons. Given we are on a growth trajectory and a fairly young organization in India, especially out of the 99,000 global employees that we have, a good mass of about 65,000 are in India. And many of these are at the entry level positions that we hire from reputed campuses and other graduating schools to bring in freshers, as we call them, and then train them and upskill them and put them on job to train while they earn as well. So that was anyway the model that we were running with. Now, the apprenticeship program, as a global organization which has a very strong foundation in India and very widespread, diverse set of talent that we were anyway hiring, it just made so much sense when the Indian government launched this. And we obviously saw a very clear partnership and a very clear business reason. It made a lot of sense that when we are continuously going to keep bringing in freshers, when we have the whole institutional knowledge and the infrastructure to support upskilling, why shouldn't we go ahead and convert this to stop hiring of freshers through any other medium but through the apprenticeship program? So building that model out was frankly not that tough for us because we had sponsorship from our CEO, frankly, our CHRO, the senior leadership. So that was fairly easy. I think the learning path for us was as a young enterprising organization, which is very bullish about doing things with a certain speed, learning to adapt ourselves to how we work with different institutes and different bodies when we decided that we are going to go through the apprenticeship route. So really it was about doing something which was socially the right thing to do and made a lot of business sense for us. And that also makes it very easy then to do change management because you're bringing in natural collaboration from many of the business leaders who then will go ahead and hire and nurture and invest in the apprentices.
How easy what is for you to get all the stakeholders buy-in to conduct?
Like I said, it wasn't tough at all, frankly.
It
When you
wasn't.
have the CHRO of the organization, when you have the senior leadership of the organization, when you have the CEO of the company fully involved and fully passionately, sponsoring this, there is frankly no room for anxiety or any kind of those emotions to set in. So that was fairly easy. I have to, however, confess that for us to reach that stage, for the core team that went out to kind of bring this into a reality was a big learning experience, of not really knowing, the if I may call it a central repository that kind of gave us access to, okay, what really does this embody? What are we signing up for? Our intent and willingness is there, but who can be our coach or our guide to work in collaboration with the government to really make this a very simple, understandable process, which we obviously then follow by the team. Whatever the core and the essence of the program, we embody that, we bring that to the fore. I think that was more of a learning journey for us. not the change management internally and implementation.
So proper due diligence being done to see what you're getting
Yeah,
into.
and I mean being able to understand ourselves, right? I mean, as a group of people appointed across HR and legal, to start off with, to say what does the Indian government mean by the Apprenticeship Act? What does it mean for our industry? What all are the nuances and specifications it entails? I think that was a bigger learning, frankly, than the change management internally within the organization at senior leadership level.
Good. So now since you've started doing apprenticeship and you say it's been almost like 2 years or a little more than 2 years when you got started, how are you executing it? What are the changes that you had to bring in place within the organization? What are the processes that you have set for apprenticeship? So maybe you would want to elaborate your entire execution model of doing apprenticeships.
Yeah. So if I look at it from a hire to retire journey of an employee in our organization and marry that or compare that to how we had to do it for the apprentices, we did have to look at each and every process, right? Because for us, we understand very clearly that apprentices are here to learn on job, and a genuine investment in their learning, to make them career ready or future ready, as the youth of the country. So for us to really look at some of the elements we already had in place. So for our example, our learning path, our ability to provide the training, all of that we were very confident we'll be able to do. What was a pretty big change was, when we started looking at implementation, we were told there are very clear specifications in terms of it has to be a classroom training. It has to have very specific infrastructure in terms of number of chairs and how big the room can be, and you need to have a projector and so on and so forth, and these have to be earmarked dedicated rooms. So I'm talking about 2018. And we did everything because we don't necessarily operate like that. For us, virtual ways of working, learning on the go, bite-sized learning, learning on job is the way we have built our culture. So that was one big change we had to adopt ourselves to or adapt ourselves to, and kind of bring that to the realization that that is something very, very clearly chalked out. Another very interesting learning for us was as we started, so we did all that we had to, earmark classrooms and the physical infrastructure and all that have you.
Was it frustrating that what the kind of flexible model that you were anyways so used to of it and getting into more, which
It
was
was very interesting, Sumit. Very interesting. We I I have to say we got a lot of partnership as well, because I think the officials at the government side also realized the willingness and this whole zest and passion with which we came into it, right? As novice and as naive as we must have looked to them, of questioning everything and kind of looking flabbergasted perhaps to the extent. But I think they saw the genuine intent that we had to want to make this a success. And in many ways, I do believe we were a pioneer in the ITS industry. So it could have also been seen as, it's a big breakthrough. Um, so we got a lot of partnership and a lot of patience also from the government to kind of, allow us to go through the motions. But why do we have to do it like this? But, that's not how we operate. But no, but yeah, this and that. So that was a genuine partnership. But yes, there were moments of learning for sure. There were moments of questioning, why do we have to do it like this? It's very different. The example that I want to give you is, so after the classroom setup, we were told that you have to take attendance on register, right? Like physical attendance, like you do in a classroom setup. And we were like, okay, we just are like a paperless organization. I mean, imagine us having to go through that. So we went ahead and met the officials again, and we gave them example of how we will do this. Everything you've said will be done, but it will not be on paper. It'll all be done online. We will, keep the apprentices abreast of what the curriculum will entail for the next several months. It'll all be again online, so on and so forth. So yeah, some very, very interesting learning opportunities for us. A lot of paperwork, which we questioned, I think, extensively. A lot of material to read. and processes that went through huge transformation as well, right? So as we felt we were becoming comfortable with some amount of knowledge that we had invested ourselves in, another Gen 2 version of it would come out. But then I think we also knew that the government was also kind of trying to stitch together a program which made a lot of sense. So we were in for it with very open mind. And I think the last but not the least was really the challenges one faced with the portal. So making sure we learn how to use it. And that wouldn't really be a challenge. We are a very technology savvy organization, but really it not being a very user friendly experience, right? And we're all about user experience. So that, yeah, I think that did cause us frustrations, not the process side of it, because we had great invested partnerships and very genuine partnerships. But on the tool side, yes, we had quite a bit of frustration.
You did feel a lot of support and collaborative approach from the government in making
Oh, totally.
it
Totally.
successful for Genpact.
Totally. From the word go.
Fantastic.
Yeah, everyone we approached, and we wanted to learn. Like I said, I think maybe they realized how that we were very willing, but we didn't know much. So they were also kind of investing in us to help us learn and study.
It was like
But yeah,
learning from
that
each
way we
other.
never had issues at all.
Good. So it was like a learning from each other process.
Learning from each other for sure, because they were always so open to listening to us in terms of why we don't want to do a paper, like write everything on the paper and take attendance on the paper, or the portal issues. I mean, why do they exist, and so on and so forth. They were very, very willing to help us and listen to us.
How your apprenticeship program is for how long?
15 months.
15 months. So by now you would have had one batch would have been out by now, passed out by now.
Actually, I want to say more than one batch now. We've had two batches, because if we started November 2018, right? So we're sitting in August 2020. So yeah, you're looking at one batch that already graduated, and the second one that's about to.
And what has been your absorption rate from apprenticeship to employment? Did 100% people did you absorb, or how was it like?
So listen, the dynamics of the industry in which we operate in, which is very directly linked to our clients in terms of what their demands, etc. That way, we are very, very diverse in terms of things can move up and down. But despite that, and plus COVID hitting us, we in fact were able to extend an outlook of conversion to employment for a good 90% or so.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
if I
phenomenal.
have my numbers on me right. So yeah, and it also again goes back to your previous question on change management internally, right? The endorsement from the very beginning was so grounded from top to bottom that actually when conversion, and we started discussions around saying, listen, let's go through the motions of assessing, we got so much of pushback saying we must do conversion because we got these great set of apprentices who we've invested in, and they're proving to be right investment, and we want to actually convert and give them employment. So actually quite a big success story over there.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, how do you monitor the progress which is being made by these apprentices while on the learning part of it? Do you have a set process or any set procedures that you are following on that to assess the performance of these apprentices?
Absolutely. So we have our learning development team that partners with Arijit and I, hand in glove. We kind of build the whole learning path for them, the entire 15 months journey, which is broken down into, obviously, when I say classroom, it's not a real classroom as in physical classroom, but virtual classroom sessions that happen, which is very clearly earmarked to the way the curriculum set for the apprentices. There is on-job training that is invested in, and the spread out of it is, through the 15 months. And at the end, there is a clear internal process assessment test, if I may. Throughout this, the dedicated training resources and what they continuously do is they keep in touch with the frontline manager, with their respective HR, and they keep sharing with them how the progress, how they're doing, are they falling behind on attendance or any kind of programs that they have to go through in the 15 months journey that they were not available for. What could have been the reason? Do we need to support them additionally? Literally, like if you go back to how a school environment, right? You have 20 kids in a class and each doesn't have to be at the same level. They are comparable, but one might need some additional help and handholding on certain modules, etc. So really kind of keeping that close watch on as those modules are being studied, and are they studying those, are they completing the journey on time as they should have, and really kind of building a three-way process between the trainer, between the manager and the HR to keep them abreast of how the apprentice is doing so that there's no surprise at the end of it.
You mentioned about that portal was a bit of challenge from the usability point of view. Any other challenges that you faced pre and while executing apprenticeship?
Uh, I think the pre-apprenticeship implementation, I would have to say, was really about, did we, kind of have a very simple way in which we could understand the construct of the program and what is the right path for us as an industry to take. So that was a bit of a learning.
That's because there was no precedence in the past for an IT.
Yeah, right.
And everything was new. You were discovering things.
Exactly, right. Yeah, so that was, I think, very, very important investment we had to make, and we consciously did for several months to really equip ourselves to understand what really is the essence of this program. It wasn't something which, frankly, is it can be understood very easily. I'll be very candid with you. Okay, we had to go through the motions of kind of understanding the clauses and the intent, to really make meaning out of it, and then go and sit. And that was one of the reasons we went ahead and partnered with you guys as well, because we realized we need some expertise.
So it seems like the challenge was more like an investment, that to have an understanding and good knowledge about and set the foundation of learning for yourself about the act and then getting on to it.
Absolutely. So that was a big learning curve for us. And post implementation, I think I've shared with you really, change management internally or hiring was never a challenge.
So it's like now those initial teething problems, which usually happens, if you're getting any new system in place, has that kind of settled down? Is it like now seamless after 2 years?
A little early to say.
Okay.
We're going through the motions. We have full confidence that, So I think the portal, can I, kind of say that it's a done deal and, we have everything in place. I think it's a bit of a journey we're going through, and we're hoping for a far more improved experience now.
Fantastic. Okay. Now, let's talk about the job roles. Which are the job profiles and the job roles that you're doing apprenticeships for?
So like I said, we have all our entry level job profiles now being done by apprentices. So customer care executives, that's under that umbrella, we hire the apprentices. So these could be in the area of collections. These could be in the area of transactional processing. This could be in the area of customer care. So jobs which require you to do back-end processing work for our end client, or it could even be that you have to talk to the client and complete a process or a transaction, as we call it. So yes, those kind of jobs.
So you said that you were hiring freshers in the past for these job roles, but then you said, okay, why don't you make use of the apprenticeship as a solution, because or as a platform, because that made more business sense. How receptive, or I would say that how easy was it for you to hire these people apprentice and not as an employee? How receptive these people were to take up these apprenticeship roles instead of being an employee?
Yeah. Listen, initial apprehension we did definitely have, right? The new hires were very keen to have the branding of Genpact associated with them, and they had tons of questions, and rightfully so, in terms of what does apprentice mean versus being an employee of Genpact. I don't want to sign up for this, and etc. So we did have those initial hurdles, and that also we looked at in the context of saying we need to equip our hiring team with better communication, script, so that they're able to build a consistency around how to go and give a reality in terms of what this means for the new hire, right? And why is it that we have gone ahead with this journey? So yes, initially, in fact, we had pushbacks from candidates we down selected, and when we told them you'll be joining as apprentices, from basic like what is an apprentice to why am I not being hired as an employee, and the inconsistency in messaging initially, very initial months, led us to realize we need to fix our internal process in terms of communication and FAQ. So we build that out.
So now people are more receptive.
They're far more receptive. We've also become
I
more.
would say that people are now willing to join Genpact as an apprentice.
We've not had challenge eventually, frankly. If you look at our hiring numbers, you'll not find that there was a challenge. But yes,
So what
the
really
journey
changed
in
in your
between.
script? Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm
Yeah.
saying what really changed in your script? What is the value proposition that you now,
Yeah. The value prop was really, Sumit, around the training and investment we would make in their learning journey. The fact that the government has, paved this path to upskill individuals, and we have signed up to make sure that by end of the program they are upskilled, that they will have an experience certificate if they complete the whole journey, genuinely, and they have all the right prerequisites, which is around attendance and process assessment scores, etc., done right. They will, not only get the Genpact experience certificate, and then they go through the government led assessment process and they get an additional certificate there. It opens up the job market extensively for them. So I think those were the key areas under which we kind of created our communication.
what has been your dropout rate on apprenticeship? Do you have any attrition in your apprentices?
The attrition that we face, frankly, is nothing which is an alarming number that forces us to sit back and say, do we need to relook at the program? Or, what have we signed up for, etc. Nothing like that. It's not an
But
alarm.
what would be an average attrition rate for your apprentices?
Average in the industry, frankly, has been, in the subset of about 20% odd.
But that would be for your employees. So that's where I
Yeah,
want.
that's what I was going to say. So in this industry, you typically do tend to see, attrition average around this, and that's what we have seen here as.
Okay. So, if you were to, how apprenticeships they kind of support your talent development and your hiring strategy. Now you've been invested for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
To see that some kind of benefits that you see out of coming or out of apprenticeships.
Absolutely. So listen, when you invest in fresh talent, very impressionable minds and willing parties who, are noticing that there is a genuine investment being made by this organization, by the government, to want to invest in my career trajectory. And then when they go through that path, and then they see, how that is helping them, and they are gainfully, earning at this juncture as well, right? They see the culture that they have joined as a company. And then when the final conversion of the first batch, would have been noticed as well. All of that obviously combined is a win-win for both the apprentices and for us as the future employer for these apprentices. So absolutely, I think it's been a huge win-win for everybody.
So, if you were to, mention the benefits or the outcome, what are the three quantitative and qualitative outcome that you see uh, out of apprenticeships? What have been the benefits? Qualitative and quantitative, three.
I think quantitative would be in terms of the conversion we've had from apprentice to full time employees. I mean, the cost imperatives have been fairly largely controlled then, right? Because you have walked them through this long term journey and then you've converted them. You didn't have to fulfill those demands from outside, right? So that's a clear quantitative benefit that I would say has been. It also, from a qualitative perspective, I would say has been continuity of that resource therefore continuing in the organization has been doesn't have any disruptions on the business side, right? Because when the manager and the HR and the leaders are fully invested in the program and the individual, the apprentice, and as they go through a successful path of 15 months and then their potential conversion, obviously their faith in the program and their faith in the work that is being done increases multifold. So I think the implementation and the successful execution of this has been a big qualitative success for us. Man, it's tough for me to give you three each. I think, we've, like I said, 2 years ago, we started the journey. First batch graduated. I think these early on successes in science continuously gives us faith.
But you definitely see that they tend to stay or engage with you for a longer period, is it?
Yes. And listen, I think everyone, end of the day, is a mature individual, right? So you will have some folks you'll have to invest a little bit more in. Some folks you will have to have some challenges in terms of their lack of complete ownership on their learning journey, irrespective whether you've provided them with all the means to help them. Um, and that's where again we've got huge partnership, be it from team leads or from the government, to address some of those nuances. End of the day, it is a business imperative. You can't just let some of these incidents go. If we've had some, very few, but end of the day, you're dealing with human beings, and we've hired in thousands, as you're aware, Sumit. You will have few who kind of take this for granted, or who take it very easy, or the lack of seriousness at times. So that way, I think we've managed to take care of those kind of situations. But overarching, absolutely, it's been a very rock solid.
Uh, what has been your experience, or what would be a take on the productivity of these people post apprenticeships? I mean, you said that you have got a batch which has passed out. 90% of the people today are working with you as an employee.
Mm-hmm.
Could you assess or gauge their productivity levels versus the people whom you were hiring directly?
Oh wow, that's a great question. We haven't gone that route, frankly, so because they got converted during COVID. And frankly, I won't have the time, or the managers will have time for me to do that analytics. But I think it's a good question for me to go back. Listen, but I think the way to answer this question is I've not had any complaints of anyone coming and saying, this person used to be an apprentice. And since conversion, we're facing challenge A, B, or C. So I think that could be a potential testimony of the fact that we are on the right path, and the investment made is overall well taken and well received.
Fantastic. So it seems like the apprenticeship has paid off for your company.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and we continue to remain absolutely invested in this program pan India. We continuously keep learning from you guys, from the government. We have a lot of hopes in terms of how this will keep becoming easier, both in form of the technology enablement, both in form of the processes as well as policies. But like I said, I mean, our faith and continuous investment is also because we have huge amount of reciprocation from the government side, and liaisoning with you guys has been really helpful as well. So we are here to stay as far as the apprenticeship program is concerned.
Any specific episode you would like to narrate, which had a any of the very impactful experience you've had with the apprenticeship, or the specific apprentice that you would like to mention?
I think the first apprentice we converted, um,
Okay.
right, and we have her testimony across internally in Genpact. Um, the way she spoke about our culture, the way she spoke about how she got opportunity to learn and grow and succeed, which is our motto, which is what our value proposition. It all came to life, frankly. That the whole genuine intent we put behind investing in this program. I think that'll stay with me forever. And that was kind of branded across the entire organization. So yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. What would be your recommendation to your industry peers on
Go
apprenticeship?
for it. Go for it. I think as more of us come together to kind of embrace and take this program forward collectively, I think it will only open up many more doors in terms of making it easier, in terms of making it more and more youth of the country getting opportunity to learn, right? I mean, we all know that our education system is one of the best globally, but it's very academically inclined. And I think through this program it also starts to bridge some of that gap which we see when you're hiring freshers and graduates into the organization. So I think that's a critical stepping stone, that kind of fine tunes freshers into professionals. So I would urge everybody to frankly look at this.
Thank you so much, Ritu, for sharing your thoughts and opinion and experience about apprenticeship. Definitely, you are pioneers in your space in taking up apprenticeship, which will set precedents for a lot of organization in the ITS to this model to build talent. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Sumit. Have a wonderful weekend ahead.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
you too.
Bye. Bye, guys.